So now we're moving on to a panel where we're going to discuss various ideas on how we can continue to reshape education in these complex times. So please welcome to the stage Patrick Jackson of Pick-a-Pals, a man who met a seagull that changed his life forever. Patrick Jackson from Pick-a-Pals, yes, here he comes. We've got Liukas, who's making algorithms you can hold in your hand, and François Taddei, who is a Chief Exploration Officer who wants to build a GPS so we can weave our dreams together. Thank you so much. So, once Patrick joins us again after handing over to his beautiful assistant. Thank you, Patrick.
Oh, Harry, I'm exhausted.
It's okay, please have a seat. There's water for everybody. Water all around.
Are you happy there, François?
Fine. Excellent
Good
news. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you, three wonderful people from three very distinct areas of education for joining us today. So, as we know, we're talking about reshaping education. So, I'd like to know from you, who are you and what are you doing? And I'm going to start with Linda, because you're so ready with the mic. I'm going to ask Linda to start.
So my name is Liukas. I'm originally from Finland, but have been living in Paris for the last 4 years. So I walked here in the morning from my home. I'm a children's book author and illustrator, but I write about technology, computer science, AI, networks, and more recently I've started to take these ideas around computers into the physical world. So I've built playgrounds that teach children how technology works through physical play.
Amazing. Patrick, you're ready with your microphone, so I'll ask you to continue.
I'm ready, thank you, Harry. Yes, my name is Patrick Jackson. I'm also a children's book author. I come from Dublin. I founded a program called Pick-a-Pals, which is encouraging children to go out and take care of their local environments, leading their families on litter-picking adventures. And this explains my curious costume, which I have left to the side. But it is all collected from debris which I picked up off the beach near my house. So every piece on that cloak is, that's just the curious stuff. Obviously, most of it is much more unpleasant debris, but that's me, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And François?
So I'm François. I live here in Paris. We are just a few hundred meters from here at the Learning Planet Institute, where you're all welcome to come and visit. We are trying to co-design the future of learning with youth. And I'm the Chief Exploration Officer, which is another kind of CEO.
Amazing. So, as we're talking about reshaping education, what we really need to know now is what's one thing that's right with education, what's one thing that's wrong with education, and how can we fix it? I'm going to start with Patrick.
Well, I think one thing that's been wrong with education for many centuries probably is that children haven't been given the opportunity to do enough. That there's been too much sitting down, there's been too much listening to one person in the room, and I think that has been the historic problem with education. What is right with education, I think, is the resilience of teachers, the spirit of teachers, and I think also the fact that we are, as creatures, we have an innate need to learn, and whatever happens, that doesn't seem to be extinguishable. And what else am I meant to be saying?
How can we fix it?
How can we fix it? Okay, we can fix it by getting kids to do more stuff and having more fun, and yeah, getting on with it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Linda?
I think I echo your ideas. I think we are just stacking more and more abstract ideas on top of each other. There's more and more disciplines, more and more words that we are jamming down the throats of kids, especially when it comes to computer science and technology. Words like AI, machine learning, words like blockchain, words like digitalization that don't really mean anything for anyone. And I, for one, would like to hold an algorithm in my hand. I would want to taste what a blockchain feels like. So that's maybe a poetic way of saying that I think we need to ground learning in action. We need to start teaching through our entire bodies, through our entire set of senses. And that's something I think is lacking in education right now. What is happening and what is great right now is I think we have a lot of curiosity in education. I think the pandemic gave us a permission to try out new things, and that legacy has lasted in some ways. And how do we fix it? I think we fix it by learning in action, by starting to do these things ourselves.
Fantastic. François, one thing wrong, one thing right, and how do we fix it?
One thing right is the fact that I think parents and educators generally want the best for the kids, or for any learner at any age. So I think that's very right. What's wrong is that that's not what we're providing the kids with, okay? Because what maybe was best yesterday is certainly not adapted to tomorrow. So what's wrong is the hyper competition in the school systems and the university system. You know, every kid is supposed to be the best in the class, which is not possible in any one class, even less at the national level or the world level. So can we move from a best in the world model to a best for the world model? Okay, so so basically, how can we fix this? By inviting students to cooperate on today's problem rather than compete on yesterday's knowledge, and invite them to find the causes that they resonate the most with, and invite them to contribute to this with others, and using technologies and all the wonderful possibilities that are open today, so that they can co-construct the solutions of tomorrow and they can make their dreams come true.
I love that, the best for the world, not best in the world. Fantastic idea. So we're going to go a little bit deeper now. I'm going to start with you this time, François. Should we use the existing educational structures that we have, and how might they be adapted?
I think we have to hack the existing structures, and we have to turn them into the future structures that we need. And in order to do this, we have to co-design the way to reinvent them with the youth themselves, and with all the educators and everyone involved. But we have to start from the needs of the youth, the needs of the planet, and we have to move from this hyper-competition to learn to care for self, others, and the planet. And we have to do this by starting developing the 21st century skills, like compassion, like creativity, like cooperation, like critical thinking, and like the ability to communicate and do things together that we could never do alone. And you have to do this by inviting everyone, starting with the youngest ones, to say what it is that they care for, what it is that they would like to get fixed. And you can involve them and develop their empowerment and agency. And you can do this from kindergarten on. For instance, we've asked 3 years old what they want to change, and they say, we want hugs. Okay? Well, they co-design a space to hug each other. Okay? But if you do this at 3 years old, what do you want to do at 6, 10, 15, 20, 25, and beyond? You can invite them to be the best versions of themselves, so that they do things that matters to them and their communities and to the next generations.
I think, as a teacher myself, I find it easy to stop and listen to my students. It's the next level that we really need to make sure are listening. Those policymakers, those decision makers who sit there in their towers deciding what's best for the youth of today without actually listening to them. So
we're trying to connect that youth creativity to the decision makers. So last month, Learning Planet Institute became the first United Nations University hub to co-construct the future of learning with youth. So our mission is to do the research and development to understand the best way to hear students' voice, needs and ideas, and involve them in governance, to train students, to train teachers, and to train leaders on the best ways to do this, and then advocate for this and scale it. And the idea is that, for instance, if you know Model UN, the simulation of the United Nations, that's a way where youth get involved in trying to understand the complexity of our world, but you can connect the ideas that they collect there all the way to remodel UN, all the way up to the United Nations. So you bring youth voice ideas all the way to the top decision makers, bringing them their creativity and their needs and their solutions for the world. And you can then put in practice the Pact for the Future, which has been signed last September at the United Nations, where from now on, there should be no more decision that is not taking into account next generation's best interest.
Absolutely.
And so that can be done by hearing youth voice and co-designing the future with them.
Yeah, fantastic.
And we can use AI to do this at scale, doing what's called broad listening. We can listen to millions of voices, and we can get AI to help us make a synthesis of this, and we can build citizen assembly at scale. It's been done at the scale of hundreds of thousands. What about doing it at the scale of hundreds of millions to redesign our planetary governance and our planetary education system?
Fantastic. So, when you think of education, the first thing you usually see is the classroom. You know, that traditional boring, bearded, bald man at the front of the room talking at the students. But I want to know, Linda, is the classroom the best place to learn?
So I've worked with schools for roughly 10 years. It's been give and take 10 years that different governments and policymakers have been trying to put coding into schools and more broadly computer science. And schools are really resistant to change. They often don't want to change, or they want to change, but at a pace that really doesn't offer a lot of room for innovation. And during the pandemic, I would wander around in the city of Helsinki in Finland, and I would start to notice these public spaces that felt like, hey, here's a place where we really model the kind of schools we want to see in the future. A place where children are self-directed, they do conflict resolution themselves. Grown-ups are there, but they are on the sidelines, not sort of dictating from the front, rather sort of guiding the curiosity of the children. And these places, they are called the playground. And all of a sudden, I started to really look at the city and realize that we have these massive public spaces funded by the city. And in Helsinki, we have this beautiful innovation where many of the playgrounds have actually university-trained staff there. They do organize events, they organize after-school programs and so forth. So why are we not utilizing these spaces? And that's where the idea for the computer playground came from. So we built this like gigantic playground, a physical playground that teaches kids about input-output, about algorithms, about binary logic, about sequences, about programming logic. And it's a space where anyone from the neighborhood can come. So it's about accessibility and equity and diversity, but it's also a space where teachers in Helsinki take their classrooms for field trips. Not that they would always remember what an algorithm is based on the visit. The idea is not that the kids really learn about coding. They will go to school and do like more coding related activities. But I want them to have this physical sensation, this like body memory, this fingertip knowledge about, oh, I was the tiny virus who crawled inside of the gigantic 6-meter high tower of computers. And I think that's really special. And more broadly, it means that not only on the computer playground, but everywhere in the city, we can look at learning spaces outdoors. We can look at spaces that we can modify and explore in completely new ways. And that changes the dynamic of the classroom for sure.
A multi-sensory learning kind of thing. It's definitely, especially for the younger learners,
I would argue
really
that
important.
for teenagers too, like when you're in a space that is not the classroom, you see new kinds of social dynamics emerge, like kids who are not necessarily the best in the classroom, maybe on the trampoline they can do stuff that the other kids can admire. I was not a very physical kid at my, when I was in high school, but I feel like I would have had a different relationship with math, for instance, if I had done it on a slide or on a trampoline or something like that, even at a high school age.
Yeah. Well, when I take my students outside, we often learn in the park, and it feels like better learning when they're there because they just seem happier. So we've talked about classrooms and outside. So my question to you, Mr. Jackson, is how can we connect the classroom beyond its physical walls?
Well, I think these creative ideas are exactly where it's at, and it's about the relationship with the community and the relationship between the spaces that we actually have access to. I came into this via my own local environmental stewardship, and we have a program which is called Pick a Pals, which we equip the classroom with a pack of litter picking equipment. And this pack is sent home with a different child to the family of that child each week. And that family is led by that child on a litter-picking adventure around their neighborhood, which is a very special activity considering many of them will not have done this before. And then they come back, and then they have brought their story back into the classroom. And they tell the story of where they went and what they did. And they read other stories from other people about other environmental actions. And they watch videos and they learn in the classroom and at home. So it's this multimodality. It's this looking at a situation in a number of, or as many possible different ways as you can, to create fun and to create engagement and to create a deeper behavioral changey kind of learning and an impact not just obviously in the classroom but also in the wider community. And I think we need to be more creative about what a classroom can be in the community. There are other things such as when the class goes home, we have these buildings, we have these rooms. They're usually in great places. They're often really cool rooms for people to do things with. So I think we need to use those rooms, we need to use those resources, and I think it is about being more creative. It's about people who are not necessarily directly involved in the school, but maybe parents or other people in the community, seeing that school as a resource, which it is because they paid for it, and using it and then creating that sort of flow of activity and energy between the school and the community around it.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So I'd like to look now into the future. Okay, so we're all going to look into the future now. Something that's an absolute key for me in education is intergenerational bonds. Education isn't just about those kids in the classroom. It's about so much more than that. So I want to know how we can create these intergenerational bonds in and around education. And I'm going to start with you here, Linda. So you weren't expecting that one.
Well, I'm often asked, like, why don't I write for grown-ups too? And I think children's books are so beautiful for us grown-ups too. Like, good children's books, they speak to us at a different age in different ways. I've read Narnia more times than I care to admit. And I think the beauty for doing something well for a 6-year-old is that it translates also to a 66-year-old CEO of a publicly traded company. So I've had like big-name CEOs come to me and confess that I read your children's books because I really don't know what an algorithm is. I should, but I'm afraid of like looking stupid in front of my peers or my managers. So yeah, that's my answer. That we all can, like, children are the most efficient learners in the world. They pack so much into their years, and we can all look for advice for them also and learn together with them. And yeah, even on things like technology, where we feel like we should be the ones leading kind of the way.
Fantastic. François, what do you think?
My dream would be to have a planetary academy where we would learn about the planetary boundaries, the planetary commons, the natural commons, the intellectual commons, the digital commons, and where we'll be trained to nurture those commons. And rather than compete for grades, you would create new commons, and that's why you'll be recognized, and you would have co-created them with others. You would have climbed on the shoulders of giants to go ever further, and you would have contributed to make the planet a better place. So that's, and I think that's possible. We are currently discussing how can we co-design this planetary academy with youth, how can we power it with technology, how can we get it recognized by UNESCO, by United Nations University, and other partners across the world. And we're trying to see how the various places of learning that are aligned with these values anywhere on Earth could come into a network, making this possible and co-creating that space as an intergenerational space. A space that is both physical and digital, that is networked, that is woven together thanks to technology, and where actually we can learn to make our dreams come true. Because you could be like John Lennon, a dreamer, but you have to know that you're not the only one, and so you have to come together with co-dreamers and weave your dreams together with them in order to make them come true, while understanding that sometimes maybe some of your dreams or some other people's dreams might be nightmares for others. And there is a few people which dreams are the nightmares for everyone else on the planet. And unfortunately, sometimes they're in positions of power to make those nightmares come true. So we have to learn to weave dreams that are self-compatible for ourselves and our generations, but also for the next generations.
Excellent.
And building a space for this is possible. Today we have the technology, the AI can be the needle to weave those dreams together.
Okay. Patrick, intergenerational bonds, how do we build them?
Well, I think it's a very practical thing. It's about getting situations where people of different generations are in the same place. So how does that happen? It happens when people of an older generation come into schools for various talks or reasons or whatever. It's when children go out into communities and meet people of different ages. My son has just started a new job, and he's 21 years old. He's said to me, do you know, one of the best things about having a job and being going into work all the time is there's people of all different ages. There's people who are in their 50s, 40s, 30s. I've never spent time with people doing stuff, and all these people are of different ages. And I thought, yeah, you're right, you haven't. You were always in third class, or fourth class, or fifth class, or sixth class, or first class, or second class, or whatever you were in. And so that is giving him a real buzz, and we have to generate those situations. I used to organize for Japanese kids to come over to Ireland every year. And one of the things we did, which was the most effective way of getting them to loosen up and enjoy themselves and use English, was to bring them to the old people's home near where the school was. And everything started to happen because conversations happened, and it was lovely. So yeah, we need to just actually make those conversations, those situations be for that magic to happen.
And I really think that when it comes to something like litter picking that the Picker Pals do, it is an easy intergenerational activity. So my daughter, for example, is massively into litter picking. I'm a little bit obsessed. My mum is also quite into it, and my nan, who's 90 years old, sometimes joins us on a litter pick as well. So it's a really easy way of connecting all these different generations.
Absolutely, and one little boy, when we asked him what was his favorite thing about going litter picking, and he said, because I got to spend time with my mum. And yeah.
It's a great way of joining generations and so on. And in fact, on that note, another person who's the next generation after Patrick, his daughter's here today. It's actually her birthday. So if everyone could say happy birthday, that would be lovely. Happy birthday, Ami.
Ami-chan, happy
birthday, Ami. And it's a very special birthday for her because it's her 26th birthday on the 26th. So it's her golden birthday. So very happy birthday. Woo-hoo. Just connecting generations there. So sorry about that, Ami. I apologize. I've got a quick question before we close things off with our last pearls of wisdom. I'd like to know, who does the current education system really benefit? Who is the prime benefactor of education? Because it really should be children, but who do you think it is? François?
The education system self-reproduces the elites. So it's the most beneficent is the elite system.
Okay. Who do you think it benefits?
I'll skip the question.
Who does the education system? You're going to skip. Okay. Ooh.
I think it's a falsely statement.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a trap there. Does it benefit the bankers? Does it benefit the parents? Does it benefit the children? Who knows? Who do you think, Patrick? I'm not letting you skip the question.
Well, I think it is what it is, and it's ended up the way it is for a lot of different reasons. So who it actually benefits, I think, is I agree with Linda. It's a dreadful question to be asking us now. But actually,
no one
I think
would be the short answer.
Yeah,
you're in trouble later, Harry.
It's not a curious question.
But of course, it does benefit. The system as it is benefits people who are better able to take tests. Its system as it is benefits people who are not less neurodiverse or who don't have special education.
But honestly, does it? Because if we have now the AIs coming in, the people who are really good at taking tests, like they won't thrive in that like system. So is it not really benefiting either that like the people who are really good at taking tests and memorizing things? So it's
We found a way to make you answer though, didn't we? Yes. Okay, so we only have 1 minute left, and I'm going to give you 15 words each. Don't worry, I'm definitely counting as well, 100%. So 15 words each for this very big question. What's one thing we can do tomorrow to make education better? Patrick.
Go and do something for your local school. It might be give a talk, or money, or time, but get involved in it somehow.
Saying it slowly doesn't make it fewer words. That was definitely more than 15. Linda, 15
I'm going to be
words.
shorter. Bring back curiosity.
That was 3 words. So you gave him some of your very good. I like that a lot. François?
Move from best in the world to best for the world.
Very good. I think combined they did 45 words there, so very good. A huge thank you. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Round of applause for these wonderful people. Careful with your phone there. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.